Your libido didn't just disappear overnight. The loss of sexual desire is not a personal failure, it's a complex, often misunderstood experience. Desire is shaped by biology, psychology, and relationships, all working together. When one is out of balance, the others are affected, and desire can fade. Today, we'll uncover the real reasons behind low libido, and how understanding them is the first step to getting it back. Your desire isn't gone forever, it's just waiting to be rediscovered. Forget the myths. Libido isn't fixed or doomed to fade. Desire is a dynamic system, influenced by your health, stress, sleep, and relationships. Understanding your body's dashboard, hormones, mental state, and more, gives you the power to make changes. Low libido is a signal, not a flaw. The solution isn't to force desire, but to listen to what your body and mind need. Science gives you the tools to reclaim your sexual self. The idea that some people are just naturally sexual is a myth. Desire isn't a fixed trait, it's more like a plant that needs the right conditions to thrive. When your libido is low, it's not a flaw, it's a sign something needs attention. Instead of self-judgment, approach your desire with curiosity. Ask, what's changed? What do I need? You have the power to nurture your desire back to life. It was never about being born that way. Myths about age and gender distort our understanding of desire. Libido doesn't automatically decline with age. Lifestyle, stress, and health matter more. The idea that men always want sex more than women is a stereotype, not a fact. Desire varies from person to person, regardless of gender. For many women, context and emotional safety are key. Busting these myths frees us to see each other as unique individuals. Real connection starts when we let go of rigid expectations. The belief that lost desire is gone forever is simply false. Libido is resilient. It can be rebuilt, like a muscle. Sometimes desire follows arousal, not the other way around. You don't have to wait for the spark. You can create the right conditions for it. Your sex drive is a barometer of your well-being, not a permanent state. Understanding this gives you hope and agency. You can nurture, reclaim, and enjoy your desire again. Deep within your body, a conversation is taking place with chemical messengers known as hormones. These regulate everything from your mood and energy levels to your sex drive. Think of this system as the body's internal command center. When it comes to sexual desire, this command center is ground zero. These hormones are part of a delicate and interconnected web. The demands of modern life can throw this entire system into disarray. We are going to shine a spotlight on the 4 key players that have the most direct impact on your libido: testosterone, estrogen, cortisol, and dopamine. Each of these chemicals has a specific role to play in the story of your sex drive. You start to see that your libido is a biological response, directly tied to the chemical environment inside your body. Testosterone is the primary engine of sexual desire for every gender. For women, testosterone is critical, though more nuanced. While testosterone drives the wanting, estrogen is essential for the enjoying, particularly in women. Estrogen maintains the health and elasticity of vaginal tissues and ensures adequate natural lubrication. When estrogen levels drop, it can lead to vaginal dryness and pain during intercourse. As a result, desire plummets. Estrogen levels decline significantly during perimenopause and menopause. What might feel like a psychological block could be a physical response to low estrogen. If testosterone is the gas pedal for your libido, then cortisol is the emergency brake. Cortisol is your body's primary stress hormone, a crucial part of your fight-or-flight response system. When you face a genuine threat, your adrenal glands release a surge of cortisol. This gives you a burst of energy, heightens your focus, and prepares your body to survive the immediate danger. From a biological perspective, stressful situations are a terrible time to reproduce, so the reproductive and sexual systems are one of the first things to be shut down. The problem is that our body's ancient stress response system wasn't designed for the realities of modern life. Our brains perceive these chronic low-grade pressures as constant threats. The emergency brake is never fully disengaged, which has a direct and devastating effect on libido. Your brain is so preoccupied with managing perceived threats that it literally blocks its own ability to register pleasure and relaxation. The constant drip of cortisol effectively poisons the well of desire, leaving you feeling drained and uninterested in sex. A chronically stressed body is a body that is inhospitable to desire. While hormones create desire, it's dopamine that motivates action. Dopamine is the chemical of anticipation and craving, making you seek rewarding experiences. It's the engine of wanting, fueling the pursuit of pleasure. In sex, Dopamine initiates behavior and anticipates pleasure. Our world's constant stimulation can deplete dopamine, desensitizing reward pathways. Overstimulation makes real-life intimacy less appealing. Restoring dopamine sensitivity reignites that spark. Be mindful of dopamine hits, reintroduce novelty and delay gratification. Reduce artificial stimulation, allowing natural pleasure to feel rewarding again. Hormones like testosterone, estrogen, cortisol, and dopamine are interconnected, part of a sensitive feedback loop. A disruption in one area can trigger a chain reaction, the hormonal cascade effect that dismantles your libido. It often starts with poor sleep, elevating cortisol. High cortisol suppresses testosterone, reducing dopamine sensitivity. This can lead to tension in your relationship, further elevating cortisol. It's a vicious cycle. Breaking it requires identifying the starting point, often prioritizing sleep. Stop the cascade and restore balance. Your brain is the ultimate control center for your sexual response. It uses a dual control model. Think of your brain as having two systems, a sexual accelerator and a set of sexual brakes. The accelerator scans the world for sexually relevant information. It is your turn-on system. The sexual brakes are your turn-off system, and its primary job is to keep you safe. The brakes are constantly scanning for reasons not to be sexual. Understanding this dual system is a game changer. A low libido is often a problem of brakes that are being slammed. The solution is not just about finding more things to turn you on, but releasing what is turning you off. Your sexual excitation system responds to pleasure. It's tuned to sights, sounds, touches, and ideas you find erotic. Some have a sensitive accelerator easily aroused, others need more specific stimulation. It's not broken, just different. Stress and distraction dampen it. Mindfulness, body image, and emotional safety enhance it. Focus on sensory experiences your brain finds arousing. The sexual brakes, or the sexual inhibition system, are a powerful force for most people struggling with low desire. Your brakes are your brain's protective mechanism, designed to stop sexual activity when the context is not right. The brakes respond to any perceived threat, whether physical, emotional, or psychological. Their primary goal is to ensure that intimacy happens only when it feels truly safe and desirable. For some, the brakes are extremely sensitive and can halt sexual feelings. Unresolved conflict in a relationship is a major brake. Learning to manage your brakes is critical for reclaiming your desire. This process begins with identifying what, specifically, is pressing your brake pedal. This might involve having difficult conversations, seeking therapy, or developing better stress management techniques. It is about systematically removing the threats so your brain can finally relax and allow for pleasure. One of the most powerful yet often invisible activators of the sexual brakes is the concept of the mental load. The mental load refers to the incessant, behind-the-scenes cognitive labor involved in managing a household and family. It is the endless river of tasks that runs through your mind. Remembering to book the dentist appointment, planning meals for the week, knowing when the bills are due, coordinating kids' schedules, and anticipating the emotional needs of everyone in the home. It's not just doing the tasks, but the relentless responsibility of remembering, planning, and delegating them. This cognitive burden creates a constant, low-grade hum of stress in the back of your mind. This ceaseless mental activity acts as a formidable brake on desire because it prevents the brain from shifting into pleasure mode. Your mind just can't be fully present in a sensual moment when it's simultaneously running project management software for your entire family. The part of your brain responsible for executive function is overworked, leaving no room for the relaxed, receptive state required for arousal. For your accelerator to engage, your brain needs to feel safe and free. An overcrowded mind, however, feels chaotic and perpetually on duty. This state of constant vigilance is the antithesis of surrender required for intimacy. In many heterosexual relationships, this mental load disproportionately falls on women, which is a key reason why they often report lower desire. When one partner carries the bulk of this cognitive labor, it creates an imbalance that breeds resentment and exhaustion, two powerful desire killers. It's difficult to feel amorous toward a partner who feels more like another dependent to manage than an equal teammate. The constant need to be the default parent or household manager leaves little energy for being a sexual partner. The brain simply can't switch hats from on-duty manager to relaxed lover, especially when the other person seems blissfully unaware of the workload. Addressing the mental load is a critical step in releasing the brakes on desire. This requires open, honest conversations with your partner about the invisible labor in the relationship. It involves moving from one person delegating tasks to a system of shared ownership where both partners are equally responsible for anticipating needs and planning. Using shared calendars, creating explicit lists of responsibilities, and having regular check-in meetings can help. When the mental load is shared more equitably, it frees up the cognitive and emotional space necessary for desire to emerge. It calms the background noise, allowing your brain to finally hear the music of intimacy. Another brain trap that slams on the sexual brakes is negative body image. How you feel about your physical self has a profound impact on your ability to experience sexual pleasure. When you harbor feelings of shame or anxiety toward your body, it's nearly impossible to relax. Instead of focusing on the sensations of the moment, you become a spectator to your own sexual experience. Dismantling this brain trap requires a conscious shift from self-criticism to self-compassion. It involves actively working to appreciate your body for what it can do and feel, rather than just how it looks. Healing your relationship with your body isn't about achieving a certain look, it's about reclaiming your right to be present. Sex does not happen in a vacuum. It's deeply embedded within the wider emotional context of our relationships. While hormones provide the biological potential and our brain's wiring determines our arousal patterns, it's the quality of our connection with a partner that creates the actual environment where desire can either thrive or wither. Think of your relationship as the emotional climate of your bedroom. Is it warm, safe, and sunny, a place where vulnerability can blossom? Or is it cold, stormy, and unpredictable, forcing you to seek shelter and protect yourself? This climate is shaped by our deepest patterns of connection, our history of conflict, and the way we communicate our needs and fears to one another. When this climate turns hostile, it becomes the most powerful brake on desire of all. We often make the mistake of treating sexual issues as if they are completely separate from the rest of our relationship. You might think everything else is fine, we just have a problem in the bedroom. But this is rarely the case. The bedroom is not an isolated island. It's a sensitive barometer that reflects the overall health of the partnership. Unresolved arguments, lingering resentments, feelings of being unheard or unappreciated. These things just don't magically disappear when the lights go down. Instead, they follow you under the covers, creating an invisible barrier between you and your partner. This emotional distance makes genuine intimacy feel impossible, even if the physical motions are still there. In this act, we'll explore how the intricate dynamics of our romantic partnerships directly impact our sex lives. We'll delve into the world of attachment theory, examining how our fundamental styles of relating to others play out dramatically in our adult intimacy. We'll look at how anxious and avoidant attachment styles can create a painful push-and-pull dynamic around sex. We'll also dissect the destructive cycles that couples fall into, like the pursuer-distancer pattern, where one partner's attempt to connect is perceived as pressure by the other, creating a feedback loop of rejection and frustration that extinguishes desire for both. Furthermore, we'll look at how specific toxic communication patterns, identified by Dr. John Gottman as the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, can poison the emotional wellspring from which desire flows. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling are not just signs of a relationship in trouble, they're direct assaults on the sense of safety and admiration required for arousal. Understanding these relational dynamics is absolutely essential. You can't fix a sex problem without first addressing the relationship problem that's fueling it. It's by healing the emotional climate that we create the safe harbor where desire can finally feel welcome to return. Section 2. Clinging and fleeing. Anxious attachment in bed. Our attachment style follows us into our adult bedrooms. For individuals with an anxious attachment style, the primary fear is abandonment. This creates a need for constant reassurance to feel safe. Sex is a powerful way to feel loved and emotionally close. This can create a complicated dynamic. They need to feel connected before desire. Even a small argument can compromise emotional safety. They might pursue sex to repair disconnection. When a partner isn't in the mood, it can feel catastrophic. This highlights how an anxious attachment style can sabotage what it craves. Understanding this pattern is the first step toward untangling sex from the fear of abandonment. Section 3. The intimacy wall. Avoidant attachment in bed. On the other side of the attachment spectrum is the avoidant style. Where the anxious person fears abandonment, the avoidant person fears being engulfed or controlled. Their core wound is a belief that true intimacy leads to a loss of independence and selfhood. They learned early in life that relying on others is risky or disappointing, so they adapted by becoming fiercely self-sufficient and emotionally guarded. They build a protective wall around their heart to keep themselves safe from the perceived threat of being overwhelmed by another person's needs. This deeply ingrained pattern has profound consequences for their sexual relationships, often creating a confusing mix of closeness and distance. For someone with an avoidant attachment style, sex can be a way to experience physical pleasure without having to engage in messy emotional vulnerability. They may be perfectly capable and enthusiastic about the physical act of sex but become deeply uncomfortable when it is layered with expectations of emotional bonding or intimate conversation. They often compartmentalize sex from emotion. The act itself might feel safe, but the cuddling after or the "what are we" conversations can feel incredibly threatening. This is when their internal alarm bells go off, signaling that the other person is getting too close, and their instinct is to pull back and re-establish their independence. This can be incredibly confusing for their partners, especially if their partner has an anxious attachment style. The avoidantly attached person might seem present and engaged during sex, only to become distant, cold, or dismissive immediately afterward. They might physically roll over and go to sleep, pick up their phone, or make an excuse to get out of bed. This withdrawal is not necessarily a conscious rejection of their partner. It is an automatic self-protective strategy to manage their own anxiety about being subsumed by intimacy. They are not pulling away from their partner as much as they are retreating behind their own internal wall to feel safe again. This dynamic can be a powerful desire killer for both people. The avoidant person may start to avoid sex altogether because it has become a gateway to the emotional closeness they fear. They learn that sex leads to their partner's demands for more intimacy, so they preemptively shut down the desire to avoid the whole uncomfortable scenario. Their partner, feeling the constant pushback, eventually feels chronically rejected and unloved, which crushes their own desire. The intimacy wall designed to protect the avoidant individual ends up creating a lonely and sexless space where neither partner can get their needs met, mistaking a fear of closeness for a lack of love. Section 4. The pursuer-distancer dance of desire. When a partner with an anxious attachment style and a partner with an avoidant attachment style come together, it often creates one of the most common and honestly destructive relationship patterns, the pursuer-distancer dance. This dynamic is a painful, self-perpetuating cycle that directly attacks sexual desire. It typically begins when one partner, often the more anxious one, feels a need for connection and initiates intimacy. This is the pursuer. The other partner, often the more avoidant one, perceives this initiation as pressure or a demand. Feeling their independence threatened, they pull away to create space. This is the distancer. This is where the toxic dance begins, and it quickly spirals. The pursuer, experiencing the distancer's withdrawal as rejection, feels their anxiety spike. Their fear of abandonment is triggered, and their need for reassurance intensifies. So, what do? They pursue more intensely. They might ask, "What's wrong? Why don't you want me?" Or try to initiate sex again, perhaps with more urgency. They are trying to close the gap and fix the disconnection. However, from the distancer's perspective, this increased pursuit feels even more suffocating and overwhelming. It confirms their fear that their partner's needs will engulf them. In response, they retreat further, becoming more silent, defensive, or emotionally unavailable to protect themselves. This cycle creates a miserable feedback loop where both partners' worst fears are realized by the other's behavior. The pursuer's pursuit causes the distancer to distance, and the distancer's distance causes the pursuer to pursue. Both partners feel completely unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. The pursuer thinks, "My partner is cold and doesn't care about me," while the distancer thinks, "My partner is needy and will never give me space." In this dynamic, sex becomes the primary battlefield. The pursuer sees it as the solution to the distance, while the distancer sees it as the source of the pressure. Desire dies a slow death for both. The higher desire partner, the pursuer, eventually has their desire extinguished by the constant rejection and emotional pain. The lower desire partner, the distancer, has their desire extinguished by the constant pressure and the feeling that sex is a demand rather than a choice. Breaking this dance requires both partners to see the cycle itself as the enemy, not each other. The pursuer must learn to manage their own anxiety without demanding reassurance, and the distancer must learn to lean into discomfort and offer reassurance before the pursuit begins. It is about stopping the dance and learning to stand still together. addressing the underlying fears instead of just reacting to them. How we handle conflict predicts our relationship's emotional climate. Dr. John Gottman identified 4 toxic communication patterns. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, stonewalling. These erode trust and safety, making vulnerability feel dangerous. Each slams the brakes on desire. Contempt is the greatest predictor of divorce because it creates shame. You cannot feel sexy when you feel worthless. Emotional disconnection is the final nail in the coffin for desire. We've explored hormones, minds, and relationships. These domains influence our sexual desire, constantly interacting. Low libido is often a perfect storm, challenges converging to create a cascade effect. Like a hurricane, biological, psychological, and relational dynamics combine. Recognizing this interconnectedness is crucial to seeing the bigger picture. Understanding the perfect storm validates your struggle and is the first step to navigating out. To see how this perfect storm plays out, let's consider a real-life example. Meet Sarah, a 35-year-old mother of 2 who works part-time. For the last year, she has felt a complete and total lack of sexual desire, which is causing immense strain in her marriage to Mark. On the surface, she feels broken and confused, wondering where the woman who once enjoyed intimacy has gone. But when we look at her life through the lens of our framework, biology, psychology, and relationships, we can see the storm that has been gathering around her. It did not happen overnight. It was a slow and steady cascade of interconnected events that eroded her libido piece by piece. First, let's look at the hormonal and physical factors. Sarah is still breastfeeding her youngest child, which keeps her prolactin levels high. Prolactin, the hormone for milk production, naturally suppresses the hormones that drive the menstrual cycle and with them, testosterone and estrogen. Her sleep is also chronically disrupted as she wakes multiple times a night to feed the baby. This sleep deprivation keeps her cortisol, the stress hormone, perpetually elevated. So, right off the bat, her biological deck is stacked against her. Low desire-driving hormones, testosterone, and high desire-killing hormones, cortisol. Physically, she feels exhausted and touched out from being a human pacifier all day long. Next, we layer on the psychological factors. Her body has changed significantly since having 2 children, and she struggles with a negative body image. When she's in bed, she isn't thinking about pleasure, she's spectatoring, worrying about how her stomach looks. Her mind is also a cluttered landscape of mental load. She manages the family schedule, the grocery lists, and the doctor's appointments. Her brain's accelerator is dampened by distraction and insecurity, while her brakes are being slammed by the overwhelming stress of the mental load. She simply has no cognitive or emotional space left for desire to even enter the picture. Finally, we look at the relational dynamics. Feeling exhausted and insecure, Sarah has been withdrawing from Mark. They don't have time for dates, and their conversations revolve around logistics. They have started to feel more like roommates and co-parents than romantic partners. Mark, feeling rejected, has started to become a pursuer, making comments about their lack of a sex life. This makes Sarah feel pressured and guilty, which is a huge activator for her sexual breaks. This creates the classic pursuer-distancer cycle. The hormonal, psychological, and relational storms have merged, creating a cascade where exhaustion fuels disconnection, which fuels more stress, which further disrupts her hormones. Sarah isn't broken. She is simply caught in the middle of a perfect and perfectly understandable storm. Seeing the full picture can feel overwhelming, but it provides a roadmap for recovery. We can create a structured plan that addresses the problem at its roots. The recovery framework is built on 3 pillars: the physical, the psychological, and the relational. To effectively rebuild desire, you must work on all 3 fronts. The first pillar is to address the physical by restoring balance to your body. The second pillar is to heal the psychological by calming your nervous system. The third pillar is to repair the relational. Desire needs safety, trust, and connection to thrive. This pillar focuses on rebuilding emotional intimacy. Rebuilding is a process from the ground up, one pillar at a time, understanding they all support each other. Start with small, manageable steps. Begin with the physical pillar. Then, address the psychological pillar with mindfulness. Start conversations and make invisible labor visible. Ease resentment and create partnership. As the foundations become more stable, work on the relational pillar. Create time to connect as people, not just parents. This gradual, layered approach is how lasting change is made. A healthy sex life is a natural outcome of a healthy, vibrant life. We began by acknowledging a painful truth. The slow disappearance of desire can feel like a profound personal failure. By understanding the science, a new truth emerges. Its absence is not a verdict on your character but a response to pressures. Within that science lies hope. Low libido is a signal, a check engine light for well-being. This knowledge is power, moving you to informed action. You have a map back to yourself. Nurture the ecosystem of your life, creating conditions where desire re-emerges. The science validates your struggle and illuminates your capacity for change. It is simply waiting for a safe environment in which to glow again. Solve the real problems and rediscover pleasure.